Welcome back. I'm very excited about today's video. It is going to be TV characters as fonts. I know the difference between a font and a typeface, but I'm just going to keep calling them fonts because it's easier. We have a very good lineup of TV shows, and I'm going to be kind of talking about each character, why I think they are a specific font, my little justifications. I'll try not to include any spoilers. I'll just kind of give a little bit of a backstory into each character and what they're like and their personality traits. But yeah, let's get right into it because I'm so excited.
Please, these gays, they're trying to murder me.
So for our first show, we have The White Lotus, and I feel like that was kind of the show of the winter. For those of you who don't know, The White Lotus is kind of like a drama, black comedy, satire about a hotel chain called The White Lotus, and there are 2 seasons. They're not really connected to each other. Season 1 is set in Hawaii. Season 2, this most recent one I will be talking about, is set in Sicily, Italy. The first character from The White Lotus that I will be talking about is Miss Tanya McCoy. She is the only character from season 1 to make it onto season 2. She's just an icon. She's got a lot of spunk to her. She's fashionable. She has money. She is a little bit naive, and I feel like she is really just aspiring to be a script font, but isn't quite elegant or polished enough to make it there. And for that reason, I feel like she is Lenora Grade Premium. So Lenora Grade Premium is this beautiful, beautiful serif font from Superior Type, which is one of my favorite type foundries. I feel like if she were to sign her name, it would look exactly like this for some reason. Like just the swash of the Q. I can just picture her signing it with just a little bit of a flourish. The second character I want to talk about is Lucia. She is fashionable, she is flashy, she leaves an impression, she is beautiful, she's a winner, and for those reasons, I have to give her Edie Mentasta. Now, Edie Mentasta is this beautiful, beautiful, kind of like really elegant script font. I got it from Creative Market, and I feel like when you use this font, you're really making a statement, and she really is like the human version of making a statement to me. If you want to make your designs super cool and effortlessly nice, you just pop it in there and it just does all the work for you. Next, we have Miss Portia. I feel like this poor, quirky little girl is the epitome of a lost Gen Z character. A lot of us can kind of relate to her. She's just a little bit lost in her journey. I feel like she doesn't really fully know who she is, and you can definitely see that reflected in her outfits, which are just extremely mismatched. She's trying to be really trendy and just putting together everything that's like kind of hot and stylish right now, but it's just a little bit too much in my opinion. Overall, she's just a very quirky, eccentric, mismatched girl. And I feel like for that reason, she is Misto. Misto is a font that is free on Behance, and I feel like it is super, super trendy, quirky. I feel like this could definitely just be on the bottle of like an up-and-coming, direct-to-consumer hot sauce marketed towards really young people for some reason. Misto isn't really like timeless. I personally love it, and I feel like it matches Portia perfectly. Next, we have Harper, who is played by the lovely Aubrey Plaza, who I love. She is super proper, she is smart. I feel like her outfits were so beautiful. She's just this really put together, polished girl. Low-key leaning, uptight, a little bit suppressed. But I feel like she's just kind of a classic and timeless girl, especially as seen in, like I said, her wardrobe. And for those reasons, I think she is Fright Big Pro. Now, Fright Big Pro is an Adobe font, so if you have the suite, it's free to use. I feel like it's one of the most like timeless, elegant serif fonts out there. It's not too flashy, but not too understated either. It's just that perfect amount of balance. And last, but definitely not least, we have Daphne, who I feel like is a free-spirited, very lighthearted, playful, hot character. And I mean, there's a lot of depth to her. She's not just that. I feel like she has so much complexity, and she's for sure 100% like the main character of the show, in my opinion. I don't know, she's just giving main character energy to me, and for that reason, I'm giving her the director's italic. This is a very like nostalgic, Wes Anderson inspired font by Tropical Type. You know, it's just like a main character font for a main character girl. That's all I have to say.
I know you may find this hard to believe, but not everyone wants to go to Yale because not everyone wants to be Blair Waldorf.
Not everyone can be.
Next up, we have Gossip Girl, and I'm talking about the original one. I'm not talking about the reboot. I'm talking about the OG, the classic, the early 2000s Gossip Girl. I feel like I grew up on this show. It is incredibly toxic looking back on it, but I love it so much. So we're gonna cover it. And I feel like I need to start with the best character in my opinion, which is Blair Waldorf. Miss Waldorf is this classic, beautiful, complex, multifaceted woman. She is so elegant, she is so cunning. I feel like she just has so much character development over the seasons, and I love her. So she is multiple weights of Ivy Presto Display. Now, Ivy Presto Display is another Adobe font, and it's just this classic, timeless, elegant serif, and it's so beautiful to me. Whether it's the regular light version or this beautiful, sleek, italicized version of it, she's not just one weight. She's like all of them. One of my favorite fonts for one of my favorite people. Next, we have Serena van der Woodsen, and I feel like she is everyone's dream girl, even though she exhibits essentially just zero development throughout all 6 seasons. But anyway, she's a shiny girl. She stands out, everyone notices her, she's super hot, and she's one of the main characters. And for this reason, she is Dreamland by Tropical Type. I feel like Dreamland is this really dreamy, beautiful font. It has a lot of subtle curves to it. It's kind of flashy and unique. It stands out in a crowd. And I feel like Serena is just the human version of that. Next, we have Nate Archibald. I feel like Nate is just a happy-go-lucky guy. The entire show, he's not there to hurt anyone. He doesn't have any bad intentions. He's just a good guy. He's not flashy or moody. He's very dependable. I feel like he's Pharaoh Lucky, which is this really cool font from Luzy Type Foundry. So Pharaoh comes in 2 weights, Pharaoh Lucky and Pharaoh Sad. Nate is definitely Pharaoh Lucky. You can see in kind of the curves of the characters, they're more uplifting and they just look happier, versus in the Sad weight, they just look really sad. And whenever I look at Pharaoh Lucky, I feel like I can just kind of picture Nate's face within the characters, just giving a little half smile or something. Next, we have Dorota, and I feel like Dorota on the outside is a very dependable, good housekeeper, but she's so much more than that. She's a huge maternal figure in Blair's life. She helps with so much of her scheming. She helps her when she's sad or happy. She's a force, in my opinion. And for that reason, she's Decoy. Decoy is another Adobe font, seemingly very happy, but look closely and it's got some edge to her. And I feel like that's Dorota. Next, we have Nelly Yuki. Sadly, I feel like she's a bit of a stereotype here. Very smart, nerdy Asian girl, but I feel like she gets a little bit of a redemption arc later in the other seasons and even in the reboot. I hope that's not too much of a spoiler. But I feel like she's Circa from Pangram Pangram. Circa to me is a modern take on a classic serif. It's definitely a little bit sharper, it's got some edge to it, but it's really elegant. I feel like if Nelly Yuki were to write her name, it would kind of look like this, especially in the way the dot on the eye is this diamond, essentially. It's just straightforward, good handwriting. And last but not least, we have Georgina Sparks. Georgina is probably one of the best TV villains out there to date. We love to hate her. She does evil so well. And I feel like this is a very self-explanatory choice, but I'm giving her Sinister. Sinister is a font from Colectivo Type Foundry, and it's actually an open source type foundry, so all the fonts there are free to use, free to download, beautiful foundry. Not a lot of explanation needed. It's just a very sinister and mischievous looking font. It's got those sharp points. It's Georgina Sparks.
Jellyfish! Jellyfish! What do I do? Ah! It got me! It got me! What do I do? It got me, Winston! What do I do? It burns! Okay. It burns! Well, what do I do? I need you to pee on my face. What? You need to pee on my face. I can't. It'll sterilize the wound. But please do it, Winston. I cannot pee on your face. I thought you were with me to the end. I just peed in the ocean, so I'm all out. You peed in the ocean? Yeah, look. Disgusting!
Next, we have New Girl, which is one of my favorite, very like lighthearted comedies. It follows a girl named Jess who gets out of a really bad breakup. She moves in with 3 male strangers in a loft. They're all 20-something. It chronicles their friendships throughout the years, and I think the characters are written really well. So starting off with Jess, who is kind of the main character, Miss Jessica Day. She is a very optimistic, happy-go-lucky woman. She's super creative, really into arts and crafts. She's got a sweet girl next door vibe going on with her. So I gotta give her New Spirit. New Spirit is another Adobe font, and it's really cute and classic. It comes in condensed versions and also regular versions. She's just a cute classic font. She's a little bit quirky. Next we have one of my personal favorite characters, and that is Schmidt. Schmidt is a super zesty guy. He's confident, he's certainly not afraid to be who he is, and he's hilarious in my opinion. So I have to give him Crayonette DJR, which is another Adobe font, and I think I read somewhere that it's described as a weird and wonderful font, and I feel like if I were to describe Schmidt, he would just be weird and wonderful. I love the curliness of this font. If he were to sign his signature, I would really hope that it looks like this font. Next we have Nick, who is a little bit socially inept. He's very sarcastic. He's not very good at doing adult things like paying bills or being responsible. I feel like he is obviously condensed. This is another Adobe font, and I feel like it's a what you see is what you get type of font. Nick can be kind of dense sometimes, so I think he's a condensed weight for sure, but it's got personality to it. Next we have Winston, who I love. I adore Winston. He's such a caring, sweet, often I feel like befuddled is a good word to describe him, but really a fun-loving, almost childlike character. I feel like he plays a lot of pranks on his friends. He's really good-natured, good-humored. I have to give him Bad Type, which is another Adobe font. Bad Type is like one of those goofy fonts that you use for like a lot of personality in your designs. It's pretty much like on the opposite spectrum of a serious font. So yeah, I think that's Winston. And lastly, we have Coach. He's a leader, he takes charge, he motivates and encourages people. And I feel like a leader font would be Rock Grotesque. Rock Grotesque is another Adobe font, and it comes in a lot of different weights. So it can be super tall and narrow and slender, or super wide. So depending on what weight you use, it can either be like a super domineering font in all caps, or it can pass off as a really fun font, not too serious, just good vibes. And he's both.
If you graduated college then that would make you
old enough to run my own law firm.
But you look so young.
Well, you know what they say. True beauty
Black
is
don't
ageless.
crack.
Our next show is Suits, and disclaimer, I'm actually only on season 3 of this show, so please keep that in mind with my font choices if you have happened to watch the entire thing. But I love this show. I feel like it deviates pretty hard from the other shows. It's like a dramedy, but it's set in the world of law, and it takes place in New York City, and it's full of really smart, brilliant lawyers. And one of the main characters is Harvey Specter. I feel like with Harvey, you either love him or you hate him. I personally love him. He's powerful, he's domineering, he's a rule breaker. I feel like if he were to describe himself in one word, it would be winner. He's confident, he's charming, but he also has a little bit of a caring and soft side to him. And for those reasons, he is Sans Plum 98. Now, Sans Plum is this really cool font that I found recently from Lift Type. And it is a statement font for sure, with some weight and personality to it. I love how tall it is, and I love how distinct and bold it is. Whatever word you write in this font, it's not screaming at you, but it is definitely in your face. I really hope that makes sense. Next we have Jessica Pearson. She is pretty serious, but she's also really smart and witty. She's definitely a leader, she's definitely driven and ambitious. She's kind of the boss of the show when it first starts out. She owns the firm. So I feel like she's definitely New World from Pangram Pangram. Now New World has a lot of soft curves and refined details, making it really elegant but also super bold. It also comes in a bunch of different weights. And I feel like if she were to write her name, this is kind of how it would look to me. Next we have Louis Litt, who is personally one of my favorite characters. I feel like he embodies loyalty. He's super funny, super mercurial, like so many emotions. He can be really tense, he can be really strict, but in the end, he's also an incredibly caring person. So I feel like he's Epica Serif. Epica Serif is another font from Superior Type. And I feel like it's super structured and organized, which is definitely Lewis. But if you look a little closely, it's also soft and gentle. It's got some curves to it. I feel like it's a complex and beautiful font. And Lewis Lit is a complex and beautiful character. Next we have Rachel Zane, who is played by Meghan Markle. Rachel is super caring, super ambitious, and really smart. So I feel like she's actually BN Pen and Graham. This font comes from one of my favorite designers, Brandon. It's another like modern, playful font. I feel like if she were to write her name in it, it's just extremely neat and good handwriting and very like proper. Next we have another one of my favorite characters, Donna. And I feel like Donna is just super charming, super witty and confident and funny. Just more proof that Suits has one of the most well-written characters of any TV show I've ever watched. So she is Edie Piedmont. I actually got this font for free on Behance. It's actually the same designer who made Edie Mentasta. She goes by E My Self Design, unless it's Emmy Self Design. This is another one of those fonts where if you just put it on a page, it just looks effortlessly cool. And that's Donna to me, effortlessly cool. Last but not least, we have Mike Ross. He is a super smart, super compassionate, extremely principled guy. He's a certified genius. Everything he reads, he automatically memorizes. He is clever, he thinks on his feet, and for those reasons, I feel like he is Spirit Sharp. Spirit Sharp is another Adobe font. I feel like you could write something really witty in this font and it would just feel like it could just bite your tongue off. Maybe the fact that it has Sharp in its name kind of influences my decision a little bit, but I still think it's a really fitting font for him.
Who in the world deserves to go to Harvard more than me? Have you seen how hard I've worked over these past 4 years? I mean, can anyone here believe that I'm not going to Harvard? I can't. I'm not going to Harvard. I am not going to Harvard. I had sex, but I'm not going to Harvard. Okay.
And last, but certainly not least, we have Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls is a show centering around a mother and a daughter, and they're essentially besties because the mother, Lorelai, had her daughter, Rory, when she was 16. This show came out in 2000, so it's actually 23 years old. This show's as old as me. Crazy to think about. But we're gonna start off with Rory, who is the main character. She's a good girl, she's very clean cut, she's extremely smart, she's well behaved, she's ambitious, and she has probably one of the most controversial character developments throughout the seasons. Okay, I don't want to spoil it for you, so I won't say too much on it. But I feel like if I were to give Rory a font, I would split her up between seasons 1 through 3 Rory, and then seasons 4 through 7 Rory. But to make things simpler on us, I'm just gonna give her BN Rendell script to showcase her from seasons 1 through 3, because that is how I will always remember her. I feel like if Rory were to write her name, it would look like this font. It just seems like a good girl type of signature in my opinion. It's a beautiful script font. Again, another font from Brandon. But Rory's got some wit to her, and I feel like it's not your cookie cutter classic script font. It's a little bit of a thicker weight than I'm used to seeing in some script fonts. I really personally enjoy using this in a lot of my designs. Next we have Lorelai, and she is Rory's mother. Smart, she's witty, I feel like she has leadership characteristics. She owns her own business, she's ambitious, but she's still kind of like a hip, young, cool, trendy mom who's like besties with her daughter. Men kind of gravitate towards her. She's just an appealing woman. She's kind of giving me not like other girl vibes, which I don't know is necessarily like a positive thing, but she's definitely unique, and I feel like she is Bastelier. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is a font from Velveteen Type Foundry, which is another open source type foundry. So it is free to download, it is free to use however you want. I feel like Lorelai wouldn't want to be put into a box or fit into a certain type of mold, so I didn't want to choose a conventional font for her. I feel like this one fits her pretty well. Next we have Emily, who is Lorelai's mother and Rory's grandmother. She's one of my favorite characters on the show. She is prim and proper to a T. She is like super old school, she's really elegant, and for those reasons, she is Sloop. Now Sloop is an Adobe font. To me, it's your very classic proper script font. Like you would see this written out on a super fancy wedding invitation. Next we have Paris. And she is definitely one of my favorite characters of the show. She's like incredibly smart and driven, brutally honest, very straightforward, she doesn't mess around. She's overall just a very powerful woman, and so I have to give her Gosha Sans. This font is from Pangram Pangram. I think the brutalist hard curves of the characters themselves really fit in with Paris's straightforward, driven, and tough personality. Next we have Lane, who is super constrained because of her very strict, very stereotypical tiger mom of a parent, but I feel like she kind of finds her own way to break rules and come into her own. She's creative, she's artistic, she loves music, she's pretty fun and supportive. I kind of wish that she had more of a spotlight in the show. She's more of like a side character as Rory's best friend. I feel like she's Ono Blazeface. Now, this is another Adobe font from Ono Typeco, who also is based in Oakland, and I really want to be friends with him. But I feel like it's a very funky font with some personality, and I feel like it could have a rock and roll persona if you look hard enough. Last but not least, we have Jess. He is one of Rory's love interests throughout the show. Personally, my favorite love interest. He is a rule breaker, he's a bad boy, the man of my dreams. He is smart, he is complex, another multifaceted character. He's a little bit moody sometimes. So I feel like he is sporting grotesque. Now, this is another font from Velveteen, free to use, free to download, and it's described as a non-conformist grotesque font, which I feel like would describe Jess. Like, he doesn't really follow the rules, he doesn't like to conform to normal expectations, and it's another font with some spunk to it. So those are all of the shows. I had a lot of fun talking about this, to be honest. So if you liked this, please let me know and I'll make a part 2. I feel like there are endless TV show characters that I love and endless fonts that could go along with them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if any of these were hot takes for you. Let me know if there are any other TV shows that you would really want me to cover. I feel like I need a catchphrase or like a signing off slogan, but I'm still thinking about it. So for now, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. Bye.